Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to do something just a little different. And what I want to do is I actually want to show you some books that I'm going to be sending in to CGC. And I don't think that I've done that before, to be honest with you. I've shown books that have come back from CGC, but I'm not sure that I've ever done a video in which I show you the books that I actually intend to submit. So I want to take a little bit of time to actually do that. Each one of these books that I'm going to be showing you is a book that I have cleaned and pressed, or a book that I have purchased that did not need a clean and a press. And when I get to those books, I'll actually explain why I'm calling that out specifically. But all of these books have essentially been cleaned and pressed, and they've kind of been separated into two categories. What I think I'm going to do is to do a pre-screen for 9.6 and above. And then the second stack of books will be books that are basically just submitted, and whatever the grade is for those books, that will be what the grade is. So a lot of the ones that I'm submitting for a pre-screen at 9.6 or above are more modern books. Some of the others that are just submitted, see what it comes back at, are some of the older books. Not every single one, but many of them are. So let me jump into the two stacks of books, and where necessary, I'll kind of point out whether there's something special about the book, something significant, etc., etc. But I think all of them are pretty nice books. The first book that I want to show you is a really cool one. I actually have 2 copies of this book. I think that this is probably the nicer of the two, which is why it is in the stack. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 607. A really nice cover here done by J. Scott Campbell. Absolutely love this cover. And like I said, I think I have 2 copies of it in the collection. This is by far the nicer of the two. So definitely hoping that this one comes back at a 9.6 or higher. Next book is this, I think this is Into the Venomverse. I think that's what this is. Variant cover. One thing about the variant covers, some of them is hard to remember what the actual book is without looking at the back side of it or the inside, because there's no trade dress on them. But this is a really dope cover. I got this book a while ago. And I can't remember why or who I picked it up from, but I think it's a really cool cover. So hopefully this one comes back at a 9.6 or higher. The next book, 2 modern books. You guys actually saw these books if you watch my pressing video series. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 95. This is the first appearance of the female turtle. I actually have 2 copies of this. Again, this book was actually pressed out in my pressing video series, so I'm going to send both of those in. Fingers crossed that these books actually come in at a relatively high grade. Here is The Walking Dead number 192. This is the second print, the Rick Grimes. I actually have 2 191s and 2 192s already en route back to me from CGC, but I picked this one up and I wanted to send it in. This one also appeared in one of the pressing videos. I want to say it was maybe part 3 or something like that. These next 2 books, well, really these next 4 books, I think, are all pretty cool books. This is the Silver Surfer Black. This is the Virgin variant from IG Comic Store. This is number 348 of 400. These are 400 hand-selected copies of this particular book. This one, most of what I get from IG Comic Store never really needs to be pressed or anything. I typically just send it in directly. More than likely, I'm going to send this one in. I need to take a closer look at it, though, just to make sure. I noticed a couple of things in the light here as I was getting ready to show it that I need to take a closer look at it to make sure that it's going to be solid for me to be able to send in. This one, I'm not sure if I'm going to send in because I really like the Virgin better, but this is the trade version of Silver Surfer Black number 1. This is actually number 373 of 600. So the Virgin was limited to 400 and the trade dress was limited to 600. So 2 really cool books. If you guys haven't read this super trippy story, you should read it. It is a trippy story, trippy artwork, but it is an enjoyable read. At least I thought that it was. And this this artwork here is just really fantastic. Next up is this really nice Silver Surfer Black. I love this cover. This cover with the reflections of the Fantastic Four and the surfboard, I think is just incredible. So this is one that is going to go in because I really dig that book. And then here's the Mike Zeck. Not sure about this one. Not sure if I'll send this one in. But it is definitely a cool cover. It's in the stack for consideration. But again, not quite sure if it'll make the cut when I send it in. Sending in a House of X because I really enjoy this. So fingers crossed that this one comes back at a 9.8. This is a really, really nice copy. So I think that I should be in good shape to get this one back at a 9.8. And part of the reason why I do a 9.8, I'm sorry, a 9.6 and above is, you know, some of these books I'm going to keep. And so if it's a 9.6 and a 9.8 really doesn't matter to me because sometimes there's a hair's difference, honestly, between the two. But I don't want a book to be rejected and sent back to me because it's a 9.6. If it is a 9.6 and it's a book that I want, I would just rather that they encapsulate it. That way I have it versus just incurring a cost of $5 to have them eyeball it and basically reject it. And I actually, one of my last submissions was 60 books that I submitted in at 9.8 and all 20 came back at 9.8. So I'm very pleased about that. So I feel pretty good that these are going to come back, but you never know. You never know if something's going to miss. And there is a wide range of books that I'm actually sending in here. So speaking of wide range, here is Thor #1. This book is pretty hot right now. The first appearance of the female Thor, Jane Foster, as Thor. So this one is actually going in. I actually picked this one up as part of a collection a couple of years ago. So this book is going to go in, and I think we're going to get a 9.8 on that one. This is the House of X. This is actually one of the variants. This was a store variant, limited to 2 per store. So I'm not sure of the exact number of books, but I know that it was 2 per store limit. So I really enjoyed the House of X, and so I wanted to go ahead and submit this one in. This one I don't think is going to get a 9.8. There's some smudges or something like that over here on the UPC symbol, so I don't think we're going to get a 9.8. It might be a 9.6, but that's actually going to be okay for that book. And then the very last 2 books are The Walking Dead #193. I have, like I mentioned, the 191s and the 192s that are en route back to me. So I also have the 193 that I want to send in to get these done. And I think these both should come back at 9.8. I feel pretty comfortable with those 2 books that they will come back at that grade. So fingers crossed. And I think it's a 15 book minimum for submission. So that's another reason why I am sending these books in, because I don't know if I have enough 9.8s to submit in to qualify. So if I do a 9.6, then that allows me to get some 9.6s graded and also allows them to identify some of those books as 9.8s and qualify those as well. So that's part of the reason why I'm kind of playing that game of going a little bit lower than what I think some of the books will be because of that 15 book minimum. So this next stack of books are books that I'm going to send in where I'm keeping my fingers crossed on the grades. Some of these books, like this first one I'm going to show you, actually has a printer defect that I'm not sure how CGC is going to handle it. It could get a lower grade or it could get a higher grade if they deem what I am seeing to actually be a printer's defect. And so this is like a mixed bag type of stack right here. So this is the book that I'm talking about. This is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive of The Walking Dead 193. A subscriber of the channel actually hooked me up with this one. It actually came in yesterday. But what I noticed on this book is that it has, I think, at least two vertical streaks running down the front of this book. They are not pressable. These are basically streaks that appear to have been done during the printing process. So I'm not sure how CGC is going to handle that. They could give it a 9.8. I'm honestly not quite sure what they're going to do with that one. So that'll be a mixed bag book. This next one is, I just think, a really gorgeous cover. It is the Mighty Thor 705. I just think it's a cool book. Who knows what the grade will be on this one. I have pressed it. I have cleaned it. It should be pretty solid. At least, I'm thinking at least a 9.6. I may actually put it in the other stack, to be honest with you. I want to take one more look at it, but I may end up putting it in the other stack if I do go with a 9.6 on that one. So we'll actually stick that over there right now. The next 2 books are twins. This is the cameo appearance of Apocalypse. This is X Factor number 5. I actually picked these books up as part of a lot. There is one in here that's probably a 9. The other might be like an 8.5 maybe, I'm thinking. It had a couple of spine ticks, but spine ticks on white covers are pretty tough. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to handle those. That's why I'm sending them in that way. This next one is one that I actually picked up not that long ago. I cleaned it, I pressed it, and it's still low grade. It is definitely a low grade book, but it is actually my second copy of Hulk 180. My original 180 is hanging on the front wall here, and it's actually a 7.0. But when I had a chance to pick this one up, I decided to do it and pull the trigger. It is probably going to come back at a 3.0. That is my guess for that one. It is complete. You guys know that I only do complete books, and that is a complete book, so I think that it's probably going to come back at a 3. I did my best on cleaning that book, and at some point I'll show some photos of that book. Book's backside was really, really bad. Someone had written in pencil 35 cents. I cleaned it up really well. Well, as best I could. So we'll see what happens with it. These next couple of books are essentially all the same. They are all the same. They are Eternals number 2. This is the first appearance of the Celestials. I actually picked up this lot from a seller on eBay. And if you guys remember my eBay sellers and buyers are the worst vlog that I did, those were the books that I was actually talking about that I picked up from a seller. The books were actually a lower grade than what the seller had suggested that they were. One of the books had like 3 vertical slashes in it from like a box cutter. There was a couple of dog-eared corners. Several of the books were actually dirty, and I cleaned them up as best I can. I was able to also get a partial refund from the seller that made me feel better about these books, but these are probably all going to be about mid-grade. That is going to be my guess. I have 2 almost full sets or runs of the Eternals already, so this is me kind of tripling down on what might happen with the Eternals. So definitely pleased to have had those books. Definitely pleased to have been able to work that deal with that seller where he was able to give me some of my money back. I felt a lot better about the situation as a result. This book right here I think is really cool. It is X-Men number 98. This is where we actually find out that Wolverine's claws are actually a part of him. So I really enjoy that little tidbit. And so I decided to pick this up. This book also made its appearance in my pressing video. I believe it was part 3 of the pressing video. A really nice book. This one is probably going to come back maybe a 7.5. Maybe an 8. Maybe an 8 on a good day. The press worked wonders for this book. I'm going to tell you, it worked wonders, but there are definitely some defects and things like that that could not be corrected with the press. But it is a nice book. It is a nice book. So fingers crossed on what happens with Alex. Thanatos sent me this because he is a big fan of this character. And early on, I used to poo-poo DC big time, you know. Boo DC, boo hiss. And he sent it to me and he's like, I want to see it on your wall. And so I am finally getting around to sending it in to CGC to be encapsulated. I honestly don't care what the grade is, but fingers crossed it comes back at like a 9.6 or higher. But this is a really cool book that Thanatos hooked me up with. It is Zatanna number 13, aka Dim Legs is how they refer to it on Thanatos' channel. So definitely a really cool book. Cleaned and pressed this book as well. And fingers crossed that this one comes back at a good grade. And if it does, well, you know what? No matter the grade, this book is going to go on the wall in honor of my friend. So there you go. And then I think I have a couple of more books here. This next one is the Uncanny X-Men number 164. This is the first appearance of Binary. Carol Danvers becomes Captain Marvel, who begets Binary. So I actually had a 9.8 of this book before. I think I sold it. And I didn't regret it, but I knew that I had this other copy and wanted to send it in. This book is not going to be a 9.8. I can tell you that. It won't be a 9.8, but it is still a really cool book. And so regardless of the grade, I'm still going to keep it in the collection. This one is probably going to be maybe an 8. That is my guess. Maybe an 8.5 on a good day. The press worked wonders for it, but there are some things that cannot be corrected with a press. This next book is Daredevil number 181. Really cool Elektra and bullseye cover right there, so definitely a cool one. I also love the yellow covers, as you guys know, so this is another one that is going to go in, and I don't know what's going to happen with the grade, to be honest with you. I want to take a closer look at this book, but we'll send it in and we will see what the grade is on that. And then the very last book that is basically up for consideration is Miss Marvel number 17. I want to say I have 16, 17, and 18. So I'm actually sending this one in to get graded. Don't really care what the grade is, but definitely pleased to have been able to pick this one up on eBay for a fair price. So those are essentially all the books for the moment that I am thinking about sending into CGC. I may change it up just a little. There may be a couple of other books that I slide into the stack here, and as I mentioned, there may be one or two that I actually pull out and set to the side and save for a different day. So there you have it. That is essentially my CGC submission haul. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and certainly when these books come back in a couple of months, I'll do an unboxing and we'll actually take a look at the books then. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, hit the subscription button, hit the thumbs up button, and definitely if you want to chat about it, message me in the comment section. But you can also reach out to me directly at Regie Collects on Instagram and RegieCollects@gmail.com. Take care.